So what do we do? What do we do in this kind of context that we are in, where there is pressure upon us as Christians, or as people with any kind of traditional sense of, say, gender and sexuality, because that's just the issue that we're facing today more than anything else. What do we do in this culture? How do we capitulate? Because we've got to survive. The church will survive. We know that. But how do we survive? How do you function if you can't keep your job, or you're ostracized from your community, or you're one of the 3 conservative students at a university and you're receiving death threats all the time, which happens regularly? What do you do? Solzhenitsyn has a series of, he's got six points he posits as like ways to live not by lies, which is the name of this book. So this is his kind of final warning to the Russian people, was live not by lies. Don't live in accordance with lies. So he says this, and as Christians, we need to be aware of this. How do we live not by lies when you've got all of these pressures on you to live by lies all the time? And first, we will not say, write, affirm, or distribute anything that distorts the truth. I think that's essential. And I know this is controversial, but when we're talking about pronoun use, live not by lies is what I would say. Is there a pronoun? What's the term? Not pronoun generosity or whatever it is. There are, and debated among Christians, how do we deal with the pronoun issue? If somebody tells you to call them by a pronoun that is not their God-given sex, what do? Do you just kind of ignore it and just call them that because you don't want to deal with the pushback? I think that this is a place where we have to apply this principle. Don't affirm anything that distorts the truth. Now, by that, I certainly don't mean go out of your way to yell at people and call them the pronoun that they don't want to their face just to be obnoxious and fight. It's not worth that. But at the same time, be as kind as you can, but don't affirm the lie. We are to be people of truth as Christians. We cannot affirm the lie. Second, will not go to a demonstration or participate in a collective action unless he truly believes in the cause. And I think that is very important, because a lot of the causes that people are standing up for today, protests, gatherings, while sometimes the things that are underneath those protests can be things that are very good, oftentimes there is an organization running the protest or ideas behind the protest that go far beyond what you think you're protesting about. So I would say look into the ideologies of the organizations that you are supporting if you are protesting. And first of all, protesting is a good thing. That you can speak your mind. It's part of American culture and society that we have the freedom to be able to do that. But be careful in protesting, and make sure that the organization that is organizing the protest that you are then kind of representing when you're there isn't standing on a basis of lies, even if you may agree with certain tenets of what they're teaching and saying. Okay, third, will not take part in a meeting in which the discussion is forced and no one can speak the truth. Does this mean you can't go to classes in college? I feel like that's the case at a lot of universities. If you follow this, yeah, maybe. Okay, will not vote for a candidate or proposal he considers to be dubious or unworthy. That seems pretty obvious. Will walk out of an event as soon as he hears the speaker utter a lie, ideological drivel, or shameless propaganda. Now that's bold. And walking out is not, it will make a statement, but walking out is not the same as standing up and screaming at the speaker, as happens anytime a conservative speaks on a college campus, it seems like. But it will speak. It will speak. And you at least retain in your conscience, I am not going to stand by and listen to the lies. And you could feel good about your conscience. Whether that person continues to do what they do, you've done your part. And finally, will not support journalism that distorts or hides the underlying facts. Well, I guess that means we'll not support journalism. Okay, so those 6 points are good. I think a really good summary of what we have to think through today. So as we face these hostilities from our culture, we're just going to increasingly have to wrestle with these questions. There's going to be more and more pressure upon us to affirm particular ideas about sexuality and gender that I think we just can't affirm as people who believe that, well, what everyone on the planet believed until 5 years ago. But we can't submit to the lie. We are called to be gracious as Christians, and I believe we should always act in grace, but never at the expense of truth. And whatever the consequences are, we have to be ready to face them. And whether right now it just means I can no longer watch Disney Plus with my kids, or let my kids watch literally any TV show or movie that's come out in the last couple years or in the future, seemingly, because they can't do that without progressive ideology being shoved in their faces. Oh, well. Is that the worst kind of persecution, that I can't watch the Netflix show I want to watch because I don't want to abide by the lies that are there? I mean, not really, but we see it as persecution. and that's the kind of mild stuff that we're so afraid of. But we really need to speak. And I think when you're thinking of lectures and stuff, this just makes me think, turn off the TV. Like when you're watching a show that distorts the truth so profoundly and is pushing an agenda very clearly, shut it off. Don't give it your money. And that's a point where I've come. I just don't watch TV. I don't watch anything.